The story of this movie begins with Jerry Lane, a former UN employee, wakes up with his wife Karen and their two daughters, Rachel and Constance, for a family breakfast. Jerry informs Constance, the youngest daughter, that he has resigned from his job in order to spend more time with the family. On the news, there is talk of civil unrest and martial law. Later, they are stuck in heavy traffic in Philadelphia when the city is attacked by a horde of zombies. These attackers move very quickly, biting people and turning the bitten very quickly. During the panic stampede, the Lanes are involved in a car accident, and Jerry notices that it takes approximately 12 seconds for a bitten person to change. As the chaos rises, the Lanes try to escape the city in a stolen RV. They stop near Newark, New Jersey at a large food store, where Karen stockpiles whatever food she can find, and Jerry is able to find medication for his eldest daughter, Rachel, who is suffering from a violent asthma attack as a result of the shock and stress of what happened to them. Looters attack his wife, Jerry shoots one of them, and Karen is released. For a brief moment, it appears that a police officer is about to arrest Jerry, despite the fact that he is holding the rifle over his head, but the officer is simply looking for supplies. Outside the store, the family seeks refuge in a Newark apartment complex. Deputy Secretary General Thierry Umutoni, Fana Makona, an old friend of Jerry's, calls and informs the family that a helicopter is on its way to rescue them, but it will not arrive until the next morning. The Lanes have taken up residence in a small apartment with a Latino family. One of the kids, Tomas, speaks English and translates for the Lanes. Jerry, convinced that the best way to survive is to keep moving, is unable to persuade Tomas's family to accompany them. The Lanes creep through the mostly abandoned tenement the next morning, trying to find the roof, but the undead detect them and chase them to the roof. On the way, they come across Tomas. When several zombies attack Jerry, they spit blood on him. When Jerry arrives on the roof, he walks to the edge, ready to jump if the blood on his face causes him to turn. He doesn't, and the family boards the chopper and flees after repelling another horde of the undead. The helicopter transports the Lanes and a large group of other refugees to a U.S. Navy aircraft carrier off the coast of New York City. On board, a team of scientists and military officials are studying the breadth of the global spread. Thierry is waiting for them and has set up bunk beds for them. Dr. Andrew Fassbach, a virologist, claims that the plague is a virus whose source must be discovered before a vaccine can be made. Jerry is charged with assisting Fassbach in locating the outbreak source due to his experience as a former UN investigator. Jerry grudgingly agrees to participate after receiving assurances that his family will be secure, and is flown to Camp Humphreys, a military installation in South Korea, where an email was received around 11 days previously, indicating that the outbreak may have begun there. Jerry's crew gets assaulted by zombies shortly after arriving at the base. Fassbach, terrified and cowardly, is killed when he inadvertently shoots himself after slipping on the C-130 plane's ramp. The gunshot wakes up the zombies in the area, causing Jerry and his companions to flee. Jerry discovers that the zombies are attracted to noise after being rescued by the base's remaining employees. A Korean soldier was out in the field performing research when he was assaulted and turned, according to the soldiers on the base, led by Captain Speak. His conversion took significantly longer than what had previously been seen. The arms to North Korea. He tells Jerry a chilling story about how the North Korean government was able to contain the outbreak in their country by pulling the teeth of every citizen within a 24-hour period, removing the ability for its citizens to infect each other through bites. Hafner instructs Jerry to travel to Jerusalem, where the Israeli Mossad had established a safe zone just before the outbreak was officially recognized, implying that Israel may have had foreknowledge of what was to come. Speak's men ride in a fleet of bicycles to avoid making any noise while refueling the C-130 and boarding Jerry. When Karen tries to call Jerry, his satellite phone goes off, and the undead attack. Jerry and the C-130 pilot are able to escape after the plane is successfully refueled. Jerry meets Mossad leader Jurgen Wormbrunn in Jerusalem, who explains that the Mossad intercepted communications from an army general in India months earlier, claiming that Indian troops were fighting the Rakshasa, or dead spirits. Wormbrunn also explains how the center of Jerusalem was walled in. The wall is formidable, at least 50 feet high, and refugees, including non-Jews and Muslims, are being brought into the quarantine zone. During Jerry's conversation with Jurgen, a group of Muslim refugees begins to sing joyfully about finding a safe haven to live in. One of the women locates a microphone, and the singing becomes more audible. Attracted by the singing, the zombies outside begin to scale the protective wall, forming a massive pile that eventually succeeds in infiltrating the city. While fleeing, Jerry notices an old man and an emaciated boy being ignored by the zombies. Sijin, Daniela Curtis, Jerry's escort, is bitten by a zombie. Jerry quickly amputates her hand to stop the spread of the infection, counting to 12 until he is certain she will not turn. Jerry and Sijin eventually make it to the airport and board a Belarus Airways flight after Jerry's pilot panics and flees. When Jerry contacts Thyri, he requests the location of the nearest WHO or CDC-type lab, and they are directed to a WHO research facility in Cardiff, Wales. A stowaway zombie is released from the cargo hold and attacks a flight attendant while the plane is in the air. She assaults the other passengers. Jerry detonates a grenade to kill the zombies, and the plane crashes near Cardiff. Sijin of the crash, though Jerry has been impaled by a piece of metal. Sijin locates him, and the two walk to Cardiff in search of the WHO facility. Due to his lack of communication, the US Navy assumes he is dead and deports his family to Nova Scotia. Jerry passes out at the facility's entrance and awakens 3 days later strapped to a gurney, his wound treated and bandaged. He is able to persuade the facility's staff that he is there on a specific mission, the men watching him dial his wife's satellite phone. When Thyri answers the phone, he informs Jerry that his family has been designated as non-essential personnel and has been relocated to a land-based facility. Jerry is upset, but Thyri is able to prove Jerry's identity to the skeptical WHO personnel. Jerry reveals to the wary scientists that because the old man and the sickly boy in Jerusalem were ignored, as well inject himself with a fatal but curable pathogen to see if his the wing of the building where the pathogens are stored, however, has been overrun by zombies after a doctor inadvertently infected himself. Jerry decides to retrieve a pathogen regardless, with the help of Sijin and one of the WHO doctors. Jerry finally makes it to the pathogen vault after fighting his way through the zombies. Jerry fills a small box with pathogen vials from 2 different cabinets. The scientists are filming him and remark that the left cabinet contains lethal and incurable diseases. Jerry is about to leave when he notices one of the undead doctors outside. He decides to inject himself to see if his theory will work when he is cornered and lacks a suitable weapon. He hands the scientists a note that reads, "Tell my family I love them," and selects a vial at random from the box. Jerry waits a few moments before opening the vault door. Jerry is able to walk out past the horde of zombies that has infested the facility because the former doctor ignores him. When he returns to the safe area of the facility, everyone rejoices at the success of his theory, and the doctors cure him of the pathogen. Jerry returns to his family in Freeport, Nova Scotia, in a safe zone. A vaccine derived from lethal pathogens is developed to serve as camouflage for troops fighting the infected. The pathogen is delivered to all parts of the world via airdrops. Human counter-offensives against the zombies begin, and hope is restored. Russia has been particularly effective in halting the pandemic through military and civilian force. Jerry makes a comment, "This isn't the final chapter. It's not even close. And this is the ending of World War Z movie." Thanks for watching our recaps and see you in a new recap.